What up? What up? How's it going? Welcome to Pilar's Corner. And I'm Pilar. How's it going? This is for you. This is an episode. I'm talking to the homies out there that have your goals, your aspirations, the things that you keep circling back to and wanting to accomplish. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk a little bit about the new moon in Sagittarius, and just get ourselves familiar with what does that mean. We'll do it towards the end. And if I'm feeling spicy, I might pull a card or two. But yeah, we need to talk about this. Okay. Here we go. If you're in a moment right now where you're like, what the fuck? Um, then that's great, honestly, because the biggest thing about feeling like a failure over and over and over again, I feel like, is one, meeting yourself where you're at. So this is going to be kind of the theme of all of this. All right. The biggest reason why we get um overwhelmed and we feel, like just useless, hopeless, helpless. There can be a lot to unpack for each person individually, but the place where I like to start off, and also just like philosophically, where I always kind of anchor myself to, is meeting yourself where you're at. You have to meet yourself where you're at, because the reason why we get into those spirally places is that we're playing a lot of narratives in our head that tells us that we need to function in a certain way, we need to achieve a certain amount, or we need to perform with a certain panache. And that can obviously send us, I mean, we're setting ourselves up for failure. That's all that is, right? Is we're setting ourselves up for failure. So when we meet ourselves where we're at, there's a couple things that happen when we embark on that journey. And first things first, you have to listen to what you're doing to yourself and what you're saying to yourself. I always tell people, you know, don't we're not trying to change, okay? Because when we're like, I need to change, when we're in a change mindset, but you haven't been doing the homework of like what's been going on. When we talk about the work, right? Have you done the work? A lot of it is like the unpacking part, but you have to, again, meet yourself where you're at. First, you have to pay attention to, what are you doing? What are you feeling? What are you saying to yourself? Period. You're literally just being like just embarking on the journey of self awareness. What am I saying to myself? When I'm feeling like this, what does my body feel like? When I'm feeling like this, what am I saying to myself? When that happens, how is that? How am I responding? Am I responding physically? Am I responding verbally? Am I responding, emotionally? What am I doing? Right. And then kind of trying to play circle back with your life. What is this common for you? Is this not common for you? Is this a new thing? When we say, I'm going to meet myself where I'm at, you're in a place of like openness and the reality of like, I am who I am. Let me understand first who I am. Okay. Now that's going out really far. Okay. And of course we want to, especially if we're chronic, um, we've chronic feelings of failure, right? All I want to do is just this. Like, why can't I fucking do this? Like, maybe I'm just not meant to do this, right? Let me tell you something. If you keep coming back to the same thing over and over and over again, you can't help it. It's almost like a personality trait. You just keep going back to that thing. then you should probably try to do it. Like, I can't tell you how many I literally cannot tell you because it's innumerable the amount of times that I've come to the same place of like, I wanna share this story. I feel like this would help somebody. Like, just always coming back to that place of like, I just wanna share. I just wanna share, right? Um, and just always, again, coming back to that place and feeling it in my bones that, um, I wanna help people connect with themselves on a deeper level. It has taken years and years and years for me to figure out what's going on with myself on like behind the scenes to get in front of the scenes, to get in front of the work. I can't, but it didn't keep me from trying. I still kept trying. I feel like that's part of the journey though. There's no sort of like one-dimensional step. That's why time is so powerful and why when we're going through a rough time, it is really shitty to say to somebody like, "Time heals all wounds," but it's true. It's true because life happens at the level of events, and we learn through action and decision making and these events that are making a presentation in our life, and how we respond to those events and how we respond to the opportunities in front of us says something about where we're at. I heard this awesome quote, and it was, luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. That's luck. That's luck. Preparedness meets opportunity. So doing the work is getting in that preparedness state. Okay. Because then you have better clarity about yourself, better foundational understanding about where you're at, what you want, what works, what doesn't work. And this is where the accumulation of it. So if you have failed 1,000 times, or you feel like you have failed 1,000 times, and you still keep coming back to the same place of like, I want to achieve this thing. I mean, sure, there's people who say like, oh God, there's this Chapel Ron song. I hope I'm saying her name right. I never know if it's like Chapel or Chappelle. Roan, her song California. Oh God, it just wrecks my heart every single time because I know that feeling. I'm getting I'm getting emotional thinking about it. But the chorus is, because I was never told that I wasn't going to get the thing I want the most. And people always say, if it hasn't happened yet, then maybe you should go. And honestly, like, felt just felt on the deepest level. Um, I I don't necessarily resonate with the I was never told that I wasn't gonna get the thing I want the most because, I had a lot of people telling me, um, things when I was little that would absolutely prevent me from wanting to put myself out there. But that second part, man. And people always say, if it hasn't happened yet, then maybe you should go. And that is, if you're not from California, that's a thing. Because everyone comes to California to kind of like achieve their dreams. And, obviously there's New York as well for the entertainment. But, you know, California is just like everybody wants to make it. If you're moving to LA and you're single and you've got aspirations, it's like, oh, I'm gonna come to LA, I'm gonna make it, right? I'm gonna pursue this dream. But after a while, yeah, it's like if it hasn't happened, like maybe you should think about your plan B. That's something that people do say. And just in general, right? People will say that, even your family, like, oh, yeah, are you sure you want to keep doing this? You keep coming back to the same place and not really making any headway. It's very hard. It's very hard when people are literally telling you, like, maybe you're delusional, right? Maybe you're just delusional. That's very difficult. Um, which is why, and we can get deeper into this at another time, but which is why it's incredibly important to surround yourself with people who are either like-minded, who see you for who you are, and who resonate with your vibration. And um, because that's where the productivity lives, right? If you want to accomplish something, be in the energy of to accomplish. Okay. So, anyways, um, yeah, it's hard. And I don't want to say, um, oh, just, you know, it's fine, it'll happen. It'll figure itself out. Because again, you do have to do the work. I'm not saying don't do the work. I'm not saying don't kick yourself in the ass. I'm not saying if you feel like you have to do this thing until 2 o'clock in the morning, don't do it. But you are the only person who knows and will understand if that's the right call. Because, bitch, if you're tired, go to sleep. If you're tired and you want to go to sleep, I'm a big fan of one, of sleep. Okay. I'm a big fan of sleep. But two, like, just do right by you. But that standard cannot be set by anybody else except for you. So, yes, we talk about meeting yourself where you're at. You're doing the work, right? You're trying to understand, okay, what are my constraints? What are the narratives I'm telling myself? What are the blockers that I'm up against? What what is happening here? Okay? And I don't call them excuses, I call them reasons. These are reasons, okay? So, understand your reasons, and if you are in touch with your why will help propel you forward and into an iterative cycle of learning. So, you're not gonna have all the answers, you're not meant to have all the answers, but you are meant to keep figuring it out, like tinkering. What's this button do? And what's this lever do? Right? Sucks, man. I'm just gonna say it. But what makes life worthwhile is doing right by you and being around people who are rooting for you, who resonate with what it is that you're trying to accomplish and believe in you or believe in your dream or whatever, but that you feel seen. Life is a losing game. You're going to lose more than you win, period. That's why you can't track your wins or losses, because the only thing that matters is, are you doing right by you at the end of the day? Now, speaking of life sucking, I feel like I need to talk about this a little bit because I have the same philosophy when it comes to relationships, like romantic relationships. And I know that there's people that are like, I just want to get married. I just want to be in a partnership. I want to be in a loving partnership. I just want to have that stability. I just want to and are willing to settle. Okay. They're willing to settle so that they can have that stability. And here, I'm going to tell you this fucking straight. Okay. Life is a losing game. God forbid you attach yourself to someone that literally just makes life harder. You're not going to feel like a win at the end of any day. You're going to feel a deficit at the end of the day. And you're not going to be real with yourself about it until 3 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later, right? Depending on what your value systems are and what you're prioritizing over your own happiness. But it's going to come to the same place. Why? because life is a losing game. You're going to have more losses than wins. And if you attach yourself to someone who's a loss, who's not helping you see the win at the end of the day, then eventually that will become a relationship that becomes a burden. Not the person, right? But the relationship. Because people are themselves. They are who they are. The relationship isn't us. That's why when something doesn't work, it's not you, it's not me, it's us, right? So having that mindset when it comes to what you want to accomplish of like, you need to see the win at the end of the day is, are you doing right by you? That's it. Are you doing right by you? If you're tired and you gotta sleep, let yourself sleep. It's not the end of the world. You having a loss that day, that's not the end of it. That's not the end of it. There's still tomorrow. There's still this whole month. There's still the quarter. There's still the year, right? But circling back to the very beginning of this, which is like the expectations that we put on ourselves. We know better how to set expectations, how to create goals for ourselves if we know better what we're working with. And we are what we're working with. You're the project, right? But you don't just dive into a project without doing some research, right? You don't just say, oh, I'm going to build this shelf and just fucking wing it, which is what we do, right? That's our 20s. And that's literally like we, our whole life up until 16, 18, we have no autonomy. We have no autonomy. So we're just in the service of gods. We're in the service of others. We're just, we have no autonomy. We have no decision-making power. The people who surround us who are supposed to be taking care of us, they are the ones, right? They are the ones who are making most of the decisions for us. Where we live, what we eat, where you go to school. And then at a certain point, right, you start to have some decision-making power, which usually expresses itself as who we choose our social network to be, right? Which is why they say in child psychology that at a certain point, your friends become more influential than your family. So you start to have autonomy by who you get to choose to be your friends. Um, okay. Then you become a young adult. And maybe that happens for you at 16, 15. Some people it happens for them really young. But 18, 20, right? This is like sort of the average, the sort of more normalized socionormative time, and where we all of a sudden now have autonomy for the first times in our lives. So what do we do? Ooh, what do we do? We do whatever the fuck we want. And it doesn't mean it's attached with that evil laughter that because we all now we're making decisions the way we want to make decisions. We have the autonomy. So maybe we're very risk averse. Maybe we're very adventurous. Maybe we're, but what it really is, it's raw decision making. And that happens pretty much through your 20s. Okay. Raw decision making. You're literally just throwing pasta at the wall because you're working with what you got and you have no precedence for except for what you've seen, what you've been exposed to, but you have no muscle memory when it comes to actually making decisions yourself. You are who you are based on the choices that you make. Okay? That's why when we're talking about like change, right? Like, oh, I want to change. Okay, but you have to know what you're working with first before you can say like, I'm making a different choice here and this is going to be an informed intentional decision based on what I know. But when we're in our 20s, we're just throwing past at the wall. We're just whatever our instinct is, whatever's living in our bones, right? Because of what we've seen, what we've been exposed to. So we have none of our own muscle memory. It's just instinct, right? It's just instinct. You see these animals in the wild when they're little, they're just doing what's instinctive to them. So are we. So at a certain point, we're just making decisions in the real world based on our own instinct and a mixture of our own personality, right? What we've been exposed to, what feels right, what feels wrong. But we don't actually know until we make those decisions. And then this is really exciting. Okay. Because honest to God, you think about your 20s, it's cringe city. You're like, oh my God. Right? I had to go through that as a mom. So that's for a whole ass other episode. But right, you're just doing the best you can with what you've got, and you've been dumped in the middle of the road with maybe nothing, right? So, okay, what are you going to do? So you're doing everything that you feel like you should be doing. And after your 20s and transitioning into your 30s, some people it's later, some people it's earlier. Well, now you've got a data map. Now you've got a data map. Oh my God, this is cool, right? Because now you're going, where are my clusters? Where are my clusters of decisions? I have a tendency to make this decision. I have a tendency to make that decision. I have a tendency to feel this way when that happens. Da, 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 da. But you have now info. Usually the stuff that rises to the top and that you cannot let go of is, oh my God, why? Why? It's usually the bad stuff, right? You're like, I'm so tired I'm so sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, right? Because maybe you're drinking too much. I'm so over having shitty partners. I am so done with taking care of my mom. I'm so done with, right, whatever it is, but you're like, now you're saturated because you've been making all these decisions and you're getting into these cycles and you're like, what the fuck, right? What the fuck? And it's not until we get to what the fuck that we actually say, I want to do different. When you're in a place where you're like, okay, I want to do different, but all this shit is holding me back. That's why the research is so important. That's why meeting yourself where you're at is so important, because you need to be curious about who you are, okay, to make intentional decisions moving forward. Now it's multi-layered always. We're always presented with opportunities to make decisions. So we're going to make decisions the best that we can in the moment. But the more that we ask ourselves these questions and we are curious about ourselves and we try to figure out where it is we're coming from and where it is that these decisions are coming from or this instinct, and if it's working for us or if it's not working for us, right? That's when we can be more strategic. Okay. That's when we can be more strategic. So going back to the very beginning, if you're a person who has like a ton of people that you're taking care of and it's very hard to get out of, because if you, I mean, this is not judgmental, but if like you have yourself as a blocker, okay, there's a million other motivational channels that you can listen to. I feel like they will be very helpful. Okay. 100%. And I hope that this is helpful up until this point. If you're listening to this and that's your situation, right? I hope that that was helpful. Okay, everything we just talked about, awesome. Now, if you have people that you're attached to that are getting in your way, and this could even be like friends socially, right? And you have people that are depending on you. Okay, one thing is creating boundaries with people who are leeches or are, whether intentional or not, and whether maliciously or not, and whether they're creating a problem for themselves or not, right? Like some people are leeches, but they don't realize that they are. They can be super nice. There's just a lot of energy. They're just a lot. It's a lot. Been there. I've been that, and I've also attracted that a lot. And I've only had to ghost someone once. Every other time it ended in a big fiery mess. But actually, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. But if it's that, then it's like, yeah, how do we incorporate decision making power with people who are not depending on you, but there's like a perceived sense of dependence? That's different. If you have people that are actually dependent on you, like your kids, your loved ones, like family members that have health issues or whatever, right? And you have your aspirations, all the same stuff still applies. But what becomes even more important is the expectations. Okay. The expectations and the doing research around what is in your power. What is in your power? And then you have to maximize on that. What is in your power, right? What is in your power? And how do you meet the moment? How do you meet the opportunity prepared? Okay. Create your own luck. Create your own luck. But sometimes we just look at other people and we're like, damn, they've got it figured out. They have something that I don't have. Okay. And that can be really hard to get out of that narrative that like things are just stacked against you. Things are just stacked against you. And maybe they're further along in the process than you are. That's 100% possible. It takes time. It takes time. It takes intentionality and it takes the willingness to meet yourself where you're at to say, I'm worth it. I'm worth the work that it takes to meet myself where I'm at so that tomorrow is just a little bit better. So that tomorrow is just a little bit better. And maybe it's not going to be this week. Maybe I need to tackle what's in front of me because this week is a lot and I don't have what I want to have in my power, my control. I don't have what I need to do that right now. So I'm going to have to put this on the back burner until, whatever your aspirations are and whatever. And then I have to put that on the back burner until next week. Okay, that's fine. Did that work out? Do you need to push it out to next month? How are you setting up expectations for yourself, you know? And then how do you prepare in the meantime? What is in your control now? Is it asking a question on Google? Honestly, is it that simple? Is it maybe having a conversation with someone that you haven't talked to before, but you know that they might be might cross streams, so to speak, with what it is that you are interested in doing in your life, or what you want to pursue, right? What is in your control right now? Meet yourself where you're at. And I'm going to use this opportunity to kind of transition into the new moon in Sagittarius because when you're hearing this, it is going to be the new moon in Sagittarius, which I is kind of a dichotomy, honestly. It's like a, it's definitely an oxymoron. Do we say it that way? Because Sagittarian energy is very much go, go, go. We think of Sagittarian energy as like the archer because that's the constellation, but the archer is the motivation, is the propeller, but it's the arrow. The arrow is that Sagittarius energy of just go, 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 which is why when you witness Sagittarian energy, I mean, somebody can be a Sagittarius and maybe they, are exercising more of their Aquarius energy or more of their Pisces energy or whatever. But, um, or somebody can be another sign, but they have very heavy Sagittarian energy. Um, it's just go. They might have a tendency just to be a dog with a bone and just get really excited about something, or just like they have an idea and boom, they got to go. They got to do the thing. Um, which for better or worse, right? Because you can have a half-baked idea and be like, go. And then it's like, shit. Okay, well, now we have to figure out what happened. Or you can be like, I'm going to commit to this idea. And they just commit all the fucking way. Right? Amazing. Now, the reason it's a dichotomy is because the new moon, that energy is like resting energy. That's nap energy. If you think about it, it's when the moon is the darkest. It's the darkest, right? So the night is the darkest. What do we do when we take a nap? We close the blinds. We want it to be as dark as possible. We just, right? We just want that silence and that calm and that peace. And we get that during the new moon. So, how do we look at this resting energy with this go energy? It's perfect opportunity for preparedness. It's a perfect opportunity. So how do we dig without needing to propel, essentially? How do we withhold without holding ourselves back, essentially, right? Letting ourselves ruminate, letting ourselves be curious, ask questions, do research, be in that state of curiosity, right? And be more in a mindset that says, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm just going to ask myself, where am I and how I feel about that? And maybe I feel a lot of different ways about that. Newsflash, multiple truths can exist. You can feel comfortable and you can also be extremely anxious. Right? You can be happy and also very deeply sad. Right? Multiple truths can exist. Let those truths exist. That go energy is also yes energy. It's also yes energy. It's movement, right? Saying yes. So say yes to yourself. Say yes to the moment. Say yes to the self-awareness of where you are and asking yourself deep and meaningful questions. Okay? Now, maybe this wasn't like how to be productive. This is the pre-work to being productive, to getting to where you want to go. So if you've been spiraling out, you know, there's no such thing as an unproductive day. There's just not. Okay? There's no such thing as an unproductive day. So even if you feel like today was a waste, today was a loss, today nothing happened. Bullshit. You woke up. And that is fucking everything. Okay? That is fucking everything. Let's pull a card. I'm feeling spicy. Let's pull a card. And we're going to pull it for this new moon in Sagittarius energy. What does everybody need to hear in the highest and best way as it serves their highest and greatest good? It's amazing. Thank you. Wonderful. I love this. Okay. Are you ready? Okay. We've got the Emperor reversed. Let's just get right into a reverse card. You're going to shit bricks when you see this next one. So the Emperor traditionally, okay, the Emperor is tried and true, consistency, success. This idea of just performing over and over and over again. It's reversed. Makes sense. It's literally what we're fucking talking about is that feeling of failure. Okay. So it's almost like the sense of like, that is not the task at hand right now. Okay. The task at hand is not perfection. It's not a perfect record. The task at hand is not about like this idea of what traditional success means. Okay? We all have an idea of what success means. What is that idea of success? When we see fucking Bill Gates or we see, I don't know, any of these people who are doing really well in their lives. I don't know. Um, Jesus, who is doing really well in their lives? There's so many people, I mean, that we see and we're like, "Fuck, they are killing it," right? It could be athletes, actors, people who've won awards, people who are winning multiple awards. People are just Christopher Nolan, right? Like that could be considered like that's success, man. Like everything he pumps out is a banger, or just like box office smasher or whatever. And even his shit that hasn't hit is still still has a fan club. Okay, cool. But this is reversed. You know how many times Christopher Nolan has failed in his life? It's what you don't see. It's what you don't see. So right now, you're in the reality soup, okay? The reality soup is that success is not the goal. Success is not the goal. It's the right now. It's the soup of right now. It's the soup of the reality that you're sitting in and working with what you got, okay? So right now, we're just in it's not about out there. It's about right here. Okay? That's one. Also, you're going to love this one. We have another reversed card. We have another reversed card. It's the Two of Coins. Oh my God. Two of Coins traditionally means this sense of like choice and balance. And like, is it this one? Is it that one? Is it, are we here? Are we there? Finding balance. It's reversed. Okay. So you're not going to feel balanced. You're not going to feel balanced right now. And honest to God, this is where the best stuff that we can learn about our stuff is. What are we working with? What are we working with? Only when you hit the bottom, only when you're struggling, you drop something off your desk, right? Fuck, right? That's my favorite pen. I don't even, I need, okay. So you bend all the way over and if you've back problems like I do, just like use this opportunity to stretch, first of all, get all the way down there, super uncomfortable, looking for it, putting your hand under your chair or under your desk or behind the thing and you can't even see, right? And there's all this other shit down there. There's fucking paper clips. There's a little invisible plastic wrapper thingy where you're like, you're like, oh my God, this is disgusting. Maybe there's dog hair. You're just like, right? This is gross. But there's stuff down there. And that's what happens when we get low. That's what happens when we struggle. We get to see what we're actually working with. What are we actually working with? Which is why it's also really helpful and beneficial when we get like confronted with our old triggers, right? Like, say we're doing so well, creating boundaries, and then boop, this person comes up, or like a situation reminds you of another situation. Um, Fuck, how are you going to respond? Right? Those are the times where you see what it is you're working with. And even though what we first go, our first reaction is the fuck, I literally like, why am I here again? Why am I here again? This is I've literally been working so hard. I've been working so hard for this bullshit to not fucking happen anymore. And here we are again. What the hell? But it comes back so that you can see your progress. Because I'll guarantee you, you're not going to act the same exact way that you have every single time, especially if you're in the mindset of, I have been doing so much work for this to not be an issue. What the fuck? Right? That's powerful. That's powerful. That's where we're at. These two cards are reminding you that it's not about the idea of success that wins. And it's not about the facade of perfect balance that is winning, right? These things are not where it's at right now because you are so many things. You are not just a doer, an achiever, a productive person, a person who tries to do their best, a person with a mindset that says, I'm I'm constantly trying to do my best. I'm constantly trying to take care of these people. I'm constantly like, I can't help but care. I have all these value systems, right? And I still feel like a failure or I still feel unaccomplished, right? You are all of these things. So meeting yourself where you're at to accept how you feel right now and asking yourself questions around why this feels bad and getting into that is going to give you an opportunity to see all of yourself, all of yourself. And hopefully you have people around you that tell you, like, you're fucking awesome. Like, this may not have been a perfect day, but like, we see you. We see you. And if you don't have that, or you feel like your partner is not doing that for you, like, tell them. You also have the responsibility to yourself to open up, to tell people when you're feeling vulnerable, right? This may be a time to like do that rest work for yourself. Rest and recharge. You're not resting so that you can be buried. You're resting so that you have the energy to see yourself and to celebrate yourself and do right by yourself. So, yeah, I hope that helps. I hope something in there resonated with you. If not, I apologize. And at the very least, I hope this was entertaining to a degree. I don't fucking know. But yeah, you deserve it. You deserve to see yourself and all that you are and your struggles and your successes because you're all of those things. If you're a baseball fan, usually there's a held philosophy there, an understanding, because baseball is a losing game. It's much like the game of life. And you see these teams and they can be great teams, but they'll lose like 4 games in a row. Loss, 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 loss. And they play, no joke, like 160 fucking games. I think it's like 130, but then if you go to the playoffs, then it's like 160, but 130 games, you guys. Oh my God. Oh my God. You you have to be in it for the long run because you deserve that. So when you're struggling, ask yourself, am I doing right by myself? And if you're not, you don't feel like you are, get curious. Ask yourself important questions about you and your decision making power because you deserve that. All right. I love you. You're amazing. You're awesome. You are already perfect. And you got this. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.